Lucille Ball was an inspiration and an early role model for my little sister. I remember she would sit down and watch I Love Lucy, and she would laugh endlessly. Knowing that neither of them are here any longer, it brought me great pleasure to draw someone who was a huge inspiration to my sister, but also an icon of early television. Welcome back to Talk Parlor number 13, the podcast, where we talk about last week's art challenge and everything that goes along with it. I'm Adam.
And I'm Jordan.
I think we've kind of had a lapse.
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks since we've posted a podcast. We have filmed, but we had
Technical difficulties.
yeah, unfortunately, with our flowers that we drew. So
we're in the process of fixing that and getting it repaired.
yeah, that's right. And so we're going to be doing a pretty significant recap this podcast.
Yes, a very significant recap, and I guess we can start that off with segment number 1.
Yeah, with our recap. So, we're going to recap on, I guess we'll start from the top. Let's start with our beautiful flowers that we drew.
Yes, I happen to really enjoy that challenge. I had been wanting a flower for a minute. It was like every week Jordan was asking me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you hope for? What do you hope for? Well, finally, every week the answer was the same. I want a flower. I want to do a flower. I want a flower. And finally, Dice graced us with flower.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop there. It went on with realism.
Yes.
And then it continued even better
To graphite pencils. You couldn't ask for a better role.
You couldn't.
We love it whenever that happens so much. It's like, okay, we're getting flower. We actually rolled flower one other time, okay? And we rolled flower, Crayola crayons,
and fine line.
minimalist.
Oh, minimalist.
Yeah, minimalist.
Yes, that's what it was.
And a complementary color palette. So it's like, is this even a challenge? Okay, we're just going to draw a 2-year-old image of a flower really quick, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of a trash roll, so it was thankfully one that you all didn't have to experience, because we didn't think it was going to be much of an experience. I mean, how do you make that an experience?
Yeah, something to put on the refrigerator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good spot for the refrigerator and a magnet.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, Mom, what I did.
Yeah, look, Mom, I made it.
I did this in school today.
Right. Yeah, we're glad that we scrapped that one. But these flowers, we both really had a great time drawing them. Man. And then we'll just recap on those a little bit. How did you feel whenever we got those flowers?
Oh my gosh, I freaking loved it.
Yeah, did you love the process?
I immensely love the process. Going back to it, I was either going to do a lily, like a stargazer lily, and then I talked to you on the phone, and you had told me what you were going to do, and I went to my backup plan, which was a water lotus. Happens to be one of my son's favorite flowers, so I was like, still a good draw. And I found a good reference photo. I mean, I think in this particular instance, the reference photo was everything. And I knew I wanted to do something with water. I just felt like doing something with water would be elevated a little more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
But what I really liked about the reference photo that I picked is that the flower itself felt very soft. Mm-hmm. It was just very calm and relaxed feeling. And I automatically was drawn to it. It was just a fun piece to do. Had been waiting on it for a very long time.
Whenever we recorded the podcast, we mentioned several times about how much Adam's flower really draws in the feeling of peace and zen whenever you look at it.
So how about, process? There were difficult parts to it. Mm-hmm. I think the most difficult part was just trying to get everything so soft. The petals so soft. You didn't want to go in with hard, definitive lines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's a white flower, and I did struggle with that a bit of trying to figure out how to
get the dimension without putting such a hard outline on everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And still make it appear and feel soft.
Right.
That's, and I think I did struggle with that a little bit. But I think overall, I feel like I captured that softness.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Other than that, it was just like I said, the water droplets. I really had a lot of fun doing the water droplets. They resemble so much of metal.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to play around with the water. And I think it'd be cool to do this again in some form of color palette.
I agree. Yeah, I think it'd be a cool picture to paint.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's move on to yours, because yours, to me, has a little bit more significance to it than just grabbing a reference photo off the internet.
Yeah, so my father-in-law, he's a really, really great photographer, and I wanted to draw one of his something that he's taken a photo of for quite a while, and so I was seeing some pictures of some flowers that he's done, and whenever I saw this lily, it just really stood out, and I loved how it was just kind of like in your face. So I gave him a message, and I was like, hey, do you care if I draw one of your pictures? And he was like, I'd be honored to. So I really wanted to give his photography justice. His photo is obviously so much better than this drawing, but that being said, you know, I really feel like the details that are in his photo, I was able to also throw that in your face with this image. I really dig the shading on it. I love the curvature of the flower. I love like how feminine it is. And then just, yeah, everything. I think it really flows good together. And I like that it comes off as an exposed photo. You know what I mean? With a lot of exposure.
Yes.
Yeah, I dig it. I like it a lot. Looks good in black and white.
I would have to disagree with you on one thing.
What?
You said that his photograph is much better than your drawing. I'm going to disagree with that.
Oh.
Okay, and here's why. Because it's two different art forms. And what you've done is phenomenal.
Thank you.
I think it is a great representation of his photograph. At the end of the day, we're not a Xerox copy machine. We can't copy it exactly as the photograph is taken, because photography is an art form. Drawing is an art form. And we can pull out different things drawing something than what the original photograph has to offer. Yeah.
And then likewise to yours, man, it is beautiful. The water droplets are awesome. If you guys are able to take a look at it on our Facebook page, and it'll also be in the video as well. But yeah, really, really beautiful pieces. We had a lot of fun drawing them.
Yeah, we did. It was a good, relaxing. I was fully relaxed when I drew this. You said it best. It's just zen. I don't get too much into that stuff, but if I was, this was just very relaxing for me to draw. I felt fully confident in it.
That was another thing too, you know, being fully confident in this drawing and like not second guessing style or how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? It was so nice to just go to something simple of I am drawing a flower and this is going to be a nice time. Yeah. It's just in pencil and have fun with it.
Yeah, and there are technical aspects of it. We're becoming more adversed at our technical abilities. And then you get to certain things. There's certain drawings that we do that are just
stressful.
They are stressful.
They are very stressful. And it's like, how do you start? Where do we start?
Yeah.
How do we do this?
Yeah, so, I mean, dude, I loved the challenge. I want to revisit it, but only in color. And eventually that will happen.
Moving on to our recap from, this was 2 weeks ago now. We ended up live streaming our Flash challenge that we had that week. We had to do a type of sword in fantasy illustration and tattooed on fake skin. So that was pretty fun.
It was fun. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it was so cool. And Adam and I, we don't get the opportunity to do art together in person, which we're going to be working on changing that. But it was so nice to like sit down and we can talk through the process. And it was just cool to live stream it as well. You know, we had a few people come in and they were like, I can see that table shaking. And it's like, yeah, I know. It kind of rocks back and forth.
It's not a great table for tattooing.
It was rough.
Yeah. But it's what we got to work with.
Yeah, it's what we got to work with, and we both had a really, really great time. You know, a couple of people were like, I wish I was there with you guys, and it was cool. It was really cool. It kind of, I think it kind of made us excited for what our future plans are, where we can do art like that all the time together in a shop together and stuff like that. So it was a whole lot of fun. How did you feel about your piece?
So when we rolled for Sword, being a huge fan of Zelda, I immediately went to the Master Sword. So Sword, Fantasy Illustration, they kind of go hand in hand with each other. I wanted to add some flowers, just give it a little more pizzazz.
Yeah,
You know, a little more pizzazz. And this is what I come up with. You know, I just enjoyed it. It was fun. And I think I enjoyed the experience even more so than the actual, you know, sitting down and doing the fake
art.
skin. It was something different.
Yeah.
You know,
And we didn't cast anything for vote either. We were just like, you know, since we live streamed it, we were here together, just shared the art on Facebook. And then also for the flowers, we got a draw on that vote again. We both got 50% of the votes on that, which honestly, I am just so happy with that outcome because they were both such good drawings. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. They were just amazing. I mean, it was only right to see that it come down to a draw.
I agree. And it's like, at that point, it's just preference. Do you like a lily better, or do you like the water lotus better?
If I was voting, I mean, it would be so difficult. You know, back to the fake skin tattoo. We've kind of been tossing around the idea, because this whole thing is supposed to be related around tattoos, and
that's our in-game goal.
Yes, that's our in-game goal, is to eventually get licensed and all that stuff. We've tossed around the idea of maybe, you know, last week of the month, live streaming a fake skin tattoo.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the art, but I think I enjoyed the experience a bit more.
Yeah.
You know?
I ended up doing the Narcel sword from the Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Totally love it. And I found a design on Pinterest that I ended up messing around with, and just to make it at least a little bit organic here, and threw on Memento Mori on there, which means remember your death. And so that was pretty fun to mess around with. It was a pretty cool little tattoo idea, and it was just neat. It was cool. Yeah, I like the fantasy illustration style of it.
I do too. I love the I just love the fine detail in it. I mean, there's so much fine detail in it. It's weird because, you know, when you think of sword, you think of masculine.
Yeah.
But there's so much detail and fine line work around it that it's somewhere between dainty and masculine.
Yeah.
You know, it's wild, and your shading is just beautiful.
Thanks.
You did a wonderful job on the shading.
I think that the outline and shading on yours is just freaking awesome. Like, it's bulletproof. It's really great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure how I got it that way with as much table movement as we had.
I know. Yeah.
It somehow come together.
Yep.
Which I was totally shocked about. I didn't expect it to turn out the way it did.
It looks really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun. So, moving on to what we have presented today. So we had kind of a rough 2 weeks.
Well, I didn't have a rough 2 weeks. Jordan, on the other hand.
Jordan had a rough 2 weeks. Got super, super sick.
So Adam called Jordan on Tuesday. Jordan answers the phone, and oh my God, Jordan, you sound like you're dying.
Yeah, had a fever and
and I said, "Are you planning on coming up and doing our thing tomorrow?" She's like, "Yeah." And I get off the phone, and I'm like,
"There's no way."
No, this isn't happening.
Right.
Because whatever she got, I don't want.
Yeah.
and she's just going to keep it at her house. Because I don't want it at my house.
I mean, I just felt like I was comatose for days. It was bad. And my wife also, my goodness, she got it really bad. And it was rough. It was ground zero at our house all last week. So
yeah, so I was like, I sent her a message because I didn't think she wanted to talk anymore. I sent her a message, and I believe I said, Yeah, Jordan, I think
It's not happening.
yeah, I think it's not happening. Get better, get lots of rest, and we will pick this up next week.
Yo.
And here we are. We're
Here we
picking it
are.
up next week. And I think we can jump right into how did you feel about this role?
Yeah, so with this roll, we finally rolled portrait. I was very, very excited about this.
Glad you were.
Yeah. Portrait and charcoal, awesome. And then to top it all off in realism. Again, it was one of those moments that we couldn't ask for a better role. We were so stoked about it.
You know what's funny
What?
is, remember when we rolled our first charcoal challenge?
Yeah,
We were like, ooh, I don't know
right.
about this.
Scary.
Yeah, and now charcoal is like,
I love it.
oh my gosh, it's one of the top.
Yeah. Yeah, that in graphite pencil for me. Honestly, I might be getting to the point where I like charcoal more than graphite pencil. So yeah, whenever we got this roll, I was so happy about it. How about you?
Yeah, I was so excited.
Adam was a little nervy.
Dude, let me tell you what. I think I've said it on here before. I don't remember, but I've done one portrait. And here's my thing about portraits, okay? And we can tie this right into tattoos.
Yeah.
You can have a good portrait, you can have a great portrait, and then you can have something that looks
Like it could be a portrait.
of something.
Of
the
something.
bottom of my shoe.
Right.
Like, I mean, it gets pretty rough out there,
Yeah.
guys. I mean, some people think I've watched and just sit down and throw in Google sometime tattoo portraits and look at some of the atrocities.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
It is freaking awful.
Ooh.
Now, throw in portrait tattoos and just add mistakes to it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and what I mean by that is you'll get something that looks very similar to the photograph that they're trying to reference, but there might be one little thing off kilter.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the pupil is just a 32nd of an inch
Right.
higher, or maybe the nostril is just a 64th of an inch out.
Yeah. What I feel
It's-
like people do, they draw the details too much. You know what I mean?
And I can see that. I'll be honest with you, when it comes to this draw, I'm not confident in it. I am nowhere near confident in it.
Well, that's what all this is for.
And-
you know, getting that practice and making us uncomfortable and finding out what we can do. You know.
Well,
what I mean?
it freaking terrifies me. Like it legit terrifies me because you're the same way. In that when we sit down and draw something, we want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And when it's not perfect, it drives me freaking bonkers.
I understand that, and we are our own worst critics. You know.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I felt about the role. I guess in a certain aspect, I was slightly excited just to see what I could do.
Yeah.
You know, because it's been so long. You know, the last one I did was in high school. It was a portrait of Jewel. I mean, I was in high school, so I've obviously gotten a lot better since then. But I come out feeling pretty confident about it. It's not perfect,
I think it's great.
but I am okay with everybody seeing it.
Good. Research. Did you do any research?
I mean, I didn't do any research.
For me, research, I wanted to look up a lot of videos on how artists draw with charcoal portraits. So that was very interesting and kind of vital for this because I've never drawn a portrait in charcoal before. Mainly what I used my research for was honestly in her hair because I didn't want to, draw strand for strand, and I've always struggled with hair on portraits.
It's hard.
And it is very hard. And so that's where, for me, that definitely came in clutch. Just re-upping and seeing how other people do it and how I can do it on mine. But yeah, how about some titles and artist statements, Adam? What'd you title yours?
I titled mine Lucille. Now, keep in mind, I did use a reference image.
Mm-hmm.
So It was a photograph that was taken of Lucille Ball. I wanted to capture the elegance and the presence of Lucille Ball. She was a person, not just a comedian. And so many people, I think that's what I liked about this particular photograph that I found was it wasn't her in I Love Lucy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was her. Lucy is just a character.
Correct.
You know what I mean? That is her character.
There was somebody behind Lucy.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what I wanted to do. And I tried to use the absolute softest shading that I could, and as much attention to detail to try to, capture a moment in stillness. Mm-hmm. And really revealing a woman that was behind, like I said, revealing the woman that was behind laughter.
Yeah.
And just timeless beauty, because, dude, you start sitting down looking at some of her photographs.
Beautiful.
She was a gorgeous woman.
Yeah, she was.
So a lot of people don't know that because a lot of people just watch I Love Lucy.
Right.
There was so much more to her, really. There's that part of it. But Lucille Ball was an inspiration and an early role model for my little sister. I remember, she would sit down and watch I Love Lucy and she would laugh endlessly.
Yeah.
Knowing that neither of them are here any longer, it brought me great pleasure to draw someone who was a huge inspiration to my sister, but also an icon of early television. And I think that, like I said, I'm not completely happy with it, but I am confident enough to put it out there for everybody to see and for people to vote on it.
I gotta take a second. Oh, man. Oh. Gosh dang. Oh, man.
So yeah, that's my...
I'm not ready.
Not ready. We're human. We're allowed to do this. So that's my artist statement. And
Gosh, why did that get me so much?
I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, it was just trying to, I don't know. It wasn't as difficult emotionally that I'm having right now talking about it, drawing it. So that's kind of weird. I'm not sure what that is and why that's happening right now, but it is. So
yeah.
Anyway, how about we jump over to your title and artist statement?
Mine is not that emotional. I just had while you were talking, I just had a flashback of that VHS tape. I'm pretty sure it's upstairs.
I guarantee you it's upstairs.
The VHS
I
tape.
could take you right to it right
in
now.
the closet, and it's the I Love Lucy show, and I just had a flashback of just watching it and just sad. Okay, but so for my title, I'm calling it A Dangerous Thought, and a couple weeks ago, right before we rolled for this challenge, went and saw the new Wuthering Heights film. And I'm a big movie buff. I love watching films. Mostly I love to see what a director is doing. I'm more so on like the art form side of cinema. So I'm calling mine A Dangerous Thought. And this portrait was inspired by a scene from Wuthering Heights in which the character, Kathy, played by Margot Robbie, she's sitting in a carriage and she's caught in a moment between restraint and desire. What stuck with me most about the scene was the quiet intensity and how a single glance and gesture could communicate so much tension beneath the surface. Is it vulnerability? Is it lust? Is it wrong? I wanted someone to look at this and notice how captivating her body language is at that very moment. Rather than portraying action, I feel like this portrait centers on a pause in a moment where desire, curiosity, and restraint exist all at once. So that's what I wanted to do. And watching that film, that after watching that film and then getting this role, I was like, man, that would be a cool spot to draw, Whenever I draw portraits before, I like to capture something with it rather than just portrait style. I want some sort of feeling to come across through, emotion, eyes, smile, laughter, sadness, something. And with this, it was just kind of a little bit spicier. It can be seductive, but it can also be very vulnerable at the same time.
And I think it captures your drawing very well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
It was very hard to draw because this film is not out yet, and I just had to surf the internet for like that spot. You know what I mean?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And thankfully, I was able to find a rather blurry reference photo that was very, very hard to work with. Just not seeing like the crispy clearness of everything. It was extremely grainy, and it's like also in the process of like emotion with her hand and her arm. So everything is blurry, and yeah, it was interesting to use that to draw from. It was definitely a test of skill, I feel like.
I would agree.
Thanks.
I would totally agree. But you've pulled off an amazing drawing. I mean, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Design phase?
Design phase, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Yeah, let's hear about your design phase.
Well, design-wise, to me, I just feel like it was a matter of spending the time to find the right reference photo. Now, the process, that was a different lion altogether.
Yeah.
One, it's in charcoal. What you do, you have to be confident in. And then this is not the first attempt at this. This was like my second or third attempt. Was struggling. I sent pictures to Jordan, and Jordan, she kind of helped me out through some of it because I was at my wit's end with it. I was ready to throw it in the trash and just be done with the entire challenge. And she's like, calm down. Let's take a minute to breathe here. Maybe we need to find a different reference image. She's sending me image after image after image. Problem number one with Adam is when I have decided to do something, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to stick to my guns. And I appreciate all the help and effort of all these different images. But it was just one of them things that it's like, this is the one I picked. This is the one I'm going to do. I'm going to ride or die by this thing.
Yeah.
And, I talked to you, and I think the biggest thing you had said, because up to that point, I had started with the eyes. Mm-hmm. And I had listened to a podcast, or a couple different podcasts, and everybody's like, start with the eyes. Start with the eyes. That's where you start. Start with the eyes. So that's where that was the one bit of research I had done. Now I bring you in. Mm-hmm. And you're like, dude, do it like anything else we do.
Yeah.
Sketch the outline.
Yeah.
Sketch the outline, start there, and then come into the inside.
Yeah, and then fill it all in.
Yeah, and I think you put it in the simplest terms you could ever put it in. Do the outline. Color it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Color it in. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, resituated my brain and how I was thinking about this whole thing and the process that I was going to go in and do this with. I did what you said. I did a light sketch. Well, at least I felt like I did a light sketch.
Right.
That would come back later to bite me in the butt. But so I did the light sketch, and that gave me the roadmap.
Exactly, the roadmap
to what needed to be done and how it needed to be done.
Right.
So I did the outline. Then I went to, I believe it was her lips.
Mm-hmm.
And then from her lips, I went to her nose, and I did the eyes last.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Nice.
I worked my way up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I shaded the lips. I come back, I shaded the lips, and then I went up and shaded the eyes, and then I shaded the nose. I was all over the place on this thing.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, I was all over, and I think a lot of that has to do with just being unsure.
Right, yeah. So you're just doing a little bit here, a little bit there, and just kind of like watching everything start to come together.
Right, because if you all have been following us on podcast, you understand and know me well enough by now to know that I have a process. I work up one side, across, and back down, so I don't smudge anything. And this thing, I was freaking all over the place.
Yeah.
And I inadvertently bought a tool months ago that I had no idea I would ever use, and I broke it out, and it works beautifully on this. And it's just a glove. It covers your pinky and your ring finger, and covers your wrist. So there is no need for having to use a piece of paper to put down and cover up your stuff. So
that way you're not smudging.
Yes. Once I got the eyes done and the nose done and the mouth done, then that's when I started working up the right side, come across, did all the hair. Now the hair was a bit tricky.
The hair is definitely tricky, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you really nailed the direction of her curls.
Well,
without like having to do every single strand and you know, it's too dark here or too light there. It looks good.
Dude, I'm telling you what, I started out like what you were saying, trying to do every individual strand.
Yeah.
And it'd drive you bonkers. What I will say, here's what I did. This was my process. I broke this thing up into sections. I broke her hair up into sections. And the first section was from her left ear. I did that first little section from her left ear to about the corner of her where her forehead meets. Okay? And I worked on that section. Now, what I did was I looked at the reference photo and I went in and I put all the dark spots in.
Yeah.
I went in and put all the saturated spots in.
Nice.
And I crumpled up some charcoal, grabbed my little dry brush, and I dipped it in the charcoal. I would brush those real dark saturated spots in. And then where it was lighter, I would work my way out to those areas. And I did that by section. And once I got all of those light spots and those dark spots shaded, like it was in the reference image, I then went in and started putting in the lines, the hairlines. Not trying to capture every individual piece of hair.
Yeah.
But just make it appear like there was individual pieces of hair.
Right.
Once I got that done, then I broke out the electric eraser and went in and started highlighting certain areas. Wasn't a whole lot of highlight to do on the on the left side of her head. The highlights were really across her forehead where the light was hitting her directly. I can imagine if she's sitting there getting her photograph taken, the light's going to be out here. Because she's got very highlighted areas on her curls on her forehead. So yeah, I did that section, and then when I got to the top of her head, I was becoming more confident in the hair. And one thing I've noticed is when you become more confident in something, it's best just to go on and do it.
Yeah, I agree. You just kind of dive in and start with your muscle memory, you know?
Right, because a lot of this is repetitive.
Yeah.
It's finding out what works and then doing that over and over and over.
Right.
Now, you're going to adjust a little bit here and there for different areas, but for the most part, it's finding what works and then repeating that process over and over and over. Once I had her hair done, then I come back down and I started shading her face.
Did you use a brush to shade all of her face, or did you use any stump?
Nope. Her entire face is done with the brush, with the exception of the with the exception of the eyebrows and parts of her nose. And I wanted to use the residual charcoal that was on the brush.
Yeah.
From doing her hair on her face. None of it's solid. It's highlights. It's lowlights. It's a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like how I said earlier that I feel like the main issue with portraits whenever people try to draw them is they try to draw the portraits.
You can't draw.
You know what I mean? Exactly. So you're just shading it in and just putting in those bits and pieces that make up the human face.
Yeah,
you know, the forms and the shadows and the bone structure beneath. That's why it's so important as an artist, study your anatomy.
You know, and what I found myself doing a lot of times was if I wanted something a little bit darker, instead of going back and dipping my brush in charcoal again, I'd run up and grab a dark saturated spot
Nice.
of hair or off of her lips and come down It would give me just enough charcoal that I could gradually work my way into it. Because the one thing I learned is you don't want to go overboard.
Yeah.
Once you go overboard, it's hard to come back from
It's
that.
extremely hard to come back from that. Yeah. What do you like most about this challenge?
I think what I liked most about this challenge is how much it challenged me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I will say I struggled. It was not easy for me. I've gained a little more confidence in it, but it was a challenge for me. You know, there's a lot of things that I like about it. I like the shadow that I was able to create underneath her hair, you know, because her curls look like
Yeah, I dig that.
But there's
Yeah.
just that little bit of white negative space that you would see. Her earrings, I feel like her earrings turned out great.
Oh man, dude, you've nailed those. You absolutely nailed those earrings, man. And how Adam is able to do it week after week with like the water and the shininess and the pearl earrings. I mean, like, God bless, they look like freaking pearls, and it is so good. It's so good, and they're dangly, and it's just captured so perfectly on these earrings. It is so perfect.
Thank you.
For sure. So what about this is like the thing for you that makes it, where you look at it and it's like, that's Lucille Ball, that's what makes it?
You know, I felt like she was too puffy in the face.
Oh yeah, I get that. And it's very easy to do that with portraits.
It's very easy to do that. But the longer I sit here and look at this, I don't see that anymore.
Good. Yeah, because it's really not, you know?
It's not.
Just, it's the angle and the shadow, and yeah, that's why it's so important to know what's also beneath the skin, because you got to get those forms, and you really got those forms on her face.
But I think the one thing that sells it to me, Lucille Ball has very distinctive eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the eyes are what sell it for me. The eyes and the hair.
Especially looking at the image and seeing the eye that's on the right is so good. That to me is where my eye is instantly drawn, and that's where I'm like,
I feel
dang,
like it's
that
the most
makes it.
captivating part of the
Yeah.
entire image.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very well done. It's got such a good shape, and the eyelashes also are really, really good.
those were so hard to
They always are.
I mean,
they always
so
are.
hard to do.
Yeah.
It's incredible how hard they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. And then, you know, we've touched on this already, but connecting with the drawing, I definitely think that
Oh
you
yeah,
could say
that
yeah
was in the
on
bag.
that. Yeah.
That one's in the bag.
I really think that you nailed it. And I think you did a great, great job. Now I have some questions for you. If you're ready for them.
questions.
Okay. So we kind of touched already on what part of this portrait you like most.
Mhm.
But what part of this portrait really makes it Lucille Ball?
Man,
Like, we talked about what makes it as the drawing, as the portrait, but what makes it Lucille Ball?
the entire thing. I mean, how the hair, the eyes, the lips, the pearls. If you had pearls, you had status. And I just think the overall image is Lucille Ball.
It's something where, you know, even if you didn't grow up watching I Love Lucy, even if you're not familiar with Lucille Ball, it's kind of that familiar look that we've all seen somewhere.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I think for me, what really makes it Lucille Ball, that's undeniably Lucille Ball, is her eyes, of course, number one. And then number two, her lips. Those classic red lipstick lips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful curvature. Now, secondly, at what point do you stop chasing perfect likeness and start pushing your own style into a portrait?
I think the moment you start. I mean,
I think that's fair to say too, because you tried doing something that wasn't Adam. You know what I mean?
Right.
You started doing something that wasn't Adam, and then it's talking to each other, and it's like, go back to our process. Go back to what we're used to every single week, every single time that we draw. Lay down your roadmap. Do that and see how it goes.
I agree. Like I said, I think it's the moment you start.
Yeah.
And all I can do is do the very best that I can do based on what I'm looking at. This is not my specialty.
Right. That's such a good point to hit on. Like, we're not drawing portraits every single week. We're not drawing the same thing every single week. We are revisiting things constantly in all different styles, all sorts of different mediums, all sorts of different subject matters, all sorts of different colors. It's a bit overwhelming at times. And one thing that we had mentioned also was how we were talking on the phone, and I can't remember exactly where this conversation was leading to, but I had mentioned, like, what's on our subject matter? You know, we got eyes on our subject matter. We have hands on our subject matter. We have human faces on our subject matter. We're going to keep on drawing these things and revisiting these things and coming back to a human portrait in the future. It's going to be like, oh, yeah, we got that down.
Oh,
you know, think about, like, your experience that you've had in drawing eyes already since we've started this.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's gotten so much better.
Right, and then coming to this, and, you know, if we started with this challenge off the rip, if this was our first one,
Oh my gosh.
it would be complicated.
I don't
But
know that
everything that you've learned up until this point here,
has made a difference.
exactly, it's
Has
made
made
such
a
a
difference.
huge difference where you can look at that and it's undeniably Lucille Ball.
The only thing that we don't have on our subject matter, and I find it to be one of the toughest things to draw on a face,
A nose.
Nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my technical ability to an eyeball has grown so much. I
Right.
mean, when we first started this, I had never drawn eyeballs. I mean, with the exception of the one portrait I did years ago. But as far as sitting down and drawing eyeballs, I never really did it. Jordan, on the other hand, she's drawn all kinds of eyeballs. So, you know, like Jordan said, when you start picking up these different,
Subject
body
matters
parts.
and body parts, yeah.
you know, different anatomy, and then you're inadvertently practicing on them all the time. You might be doing something wild and crazy with it, but at the end of the day, it comes right back to the technical aspects of being able to apply that on a piece of paper, and it's still practice. It's still, there are things. Yeah, it may be a freaking warm color palette eyeball that, you know, is done in a new school format. It doesn't matter. The technical aspect of that still gives you practice of actually applying a realistic looking eyeball on a human portrait.
I totally agree. So, also, finally, what is the one part of this portrait you are most afraid to touch right now because you're scared that it would ruin it?
The entire thing.
The entire thing, yeah.
Jordan got sick. When she got sick, I had gotten all the way up to basically the last little piece of hair, and then her ear and her earring down the right side of the portrait. And when I talked to Jordan on Tuesday, I was like, this ain't happening. I'm done. I'm going to take me a break. Well, so get to yesterday, and I'm like, well, I'll just... Because Jordan, there was a couple things she hadn't finished on hers yet at this point, and I was like, yeah, I haven't finished mine yet, and I'll just do it tomorrow when I get home from work.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, Adam didn't get home till almost 9 o'clock last night because I blew a tire.
Yeah.
And was sitting on the side of the road for a given period of time, which got into my ability to not finish this until today. When I got it finally finished, and Jordan was sitting here, I'm like, Jordan, I think I'm done. And she's like, cool, untape it. And I mean, I am just like, so careful, not grabbing anything. Got some charcoal on my hands, and I'm like, oh boy, I can't grab there, I can't grab here. And I am just deathly terrified to touch this thing anywhere.
I know, and it's such a good feeling whenever you're done with the drawing, and it's like, okay, if I do any more to it, I'm gonna screw it up. And that really applies to this question here, because I think that what you have is her completed piece. This is what you've got. This is Adam's portrait of Lucille Ball. It is the completed piece. Touching any part of it right now, trying to mess with it more, where I understand whenever we look at it once it's completed, there's always something that we want to go back in there and fix or mess around with a little bit, but we never do, because God forbid we touch it, we mess with it.
And then the only thing that I did change a little bit when I was sitting over there at the desk finishing this up, and it wasn't something I didn't have it in there, was this little bit of shadow right here.
I like that.
And I feel like
lot.
it narrowed her jawline up.
Yeah, and it got rid of that chunkiness.
The chunkiness.
Yeah.
And this is something I noticed when I was doing this. So you can ask Jordan when she come in. I've got this really cool like tattoo table. It's got all these arms and everything on it. And I can put like my cell phone and my tablet up on it, and it's got a light. Anyway, I have my tablet setting up, and there's something I've noticed through this whole process. And that is when you're drawing something, and we've talked about it, and you take a picture of it, and you look at that picture on your phone.
Yeah.
And then you look at that drawing.
Yeah.
And you see different things inside the picture than you see on the drawing, okay? We've talked about it with this. I would take a picture of this. I would love what I was looking at on the drawing table. I'd take a picture of it, and I'd hate it. And I struggled with that all week long. Like, I would go from loving it to hating it, loving it to hating it. One of the last things I did was I took and sent the picture to the printer, and I printed it out. And what I noticed is there were certain aspects, like certain darker spots that were shaded on the portrait that printed out that were not showing up on the tablet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I think I think that's a new approach that I'm going to do when in the future is when we do a portrait, I'm not only going to have it on my tablet, but I'm going to have multiple copies of it printed out because you see different things through different mediums show you different things, if that makes sense at all.
Right.
Meaning I'm seeing something different on the tablet than what I'm seeing on this printed out photograph.
Yeah.
Okay? But I might change the contrast a little bit and have another one printed out. Because then I can really see the differences between the three.
Right, and see where some area might need more lightness, some area might need more richness.
Right, or something might need to be saturated a little bit more, or you might need to add a little bit of more of a shadow here or a little more of a shadow there.
Yeah, good point.
And that was the one thing I had seen was there was one spot when I looked in there, and it was a weird thing. I just walked in the bedroom to my drawing table, and it was sitting there on the table, and I'm like, whoa, there's a spot there. There's a spot there. So I grabbed up my pencil and I highlighted those spots on that printed out photograph. And that was one of the last things I did was put that in there, and I feel like it really narrowed her face up. So yeah, there's just lots of little tricks that you just naturally figure out.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, those were some good questions.
Thanks.
Sorry I took so long.
No, you're just fine.
I just, it was a learning experience for me, and I hope somebody's listening to this and learning from my experience. So let's get into yours.
All right. Into mine, Margot Robbie. So I mentioned before about how I went and saw the movie Wuthering Heights, and that flash of Margot Robbie in the carriage whenever we rolled for the human portrait. Initially, I wanted to draw Brie, but then I was like, that's too biased. I can't necessarily put that up for vote. I'm gonna have to do that on my own personal time. And so I was like, well, what else could I do? And then instantly I thought of Margot Robbie in the Wuthering Heights film. And, like I had mentioned before, I wanted to capture that whatever feeling somebody can feel from looking at this. Like I mentioned, is it vulnerability? Is it lust? Is it something wrong? It kind of makes you ask a question to yourself a little bit on what is happening or what just happened or what's going to happen from this moment of seeing Margot Robbie. So for my design, I finally found that clip online of the image of her in the carriage, and it's extremely blurry, very grainy. And I just, went up to my studio and sat there and pulled up the picture on my laptop and was just like total silence, no music, no nothing, which is odd for me, but I wanted like no distraction at all, and just laid out like 2.5 hours to put into her outline. And that in itself was just so complicated, trying to get all the proportions right, because it's been a long time since I've done a portrait. And Margot Robbie has extremely, distinctive, like attractive features, and I wanted to be able to capture those. and also the softness of her face as well. So that's kind of where I started, just laying down that roadmap of everything. And so then I mentioned that I had looked up a lot of stuff on like hair and drawing charcoal with hair. Margot Robbie has blonde hair. So it was like, how am I going to capture, we're using charcoal, you know, and how am I going to capture the fact that this is really light hair with, you know, such little shading. And so thankfully she has her hair up, which is kind of nice because it's a little bit messy as well. And so I just started going in there and adding the darker striations, and really focused on the direction that her hair is going. And I really love how that turned out. I feel like I nailed the form of her hair in this. Her hair is probably one of my favorite pieces of this whole thing. Also, I've gotten really into using the zero erasers, the mono. So I was able to get those little baby hairs that she's got standing up towards the front of her forehead that are going backwards. So the hair, loved it. And that's really where I started with her portrait. Prior to that, I just started blacking out that edge there because she's in a carriage and it's like a velvet navy that's behind her. So I really needed to get that area dark, and just grabbed a charcoal brick and just started going to town in that area as hard as I could without smearing everything over into the outline, which was extremely difficult. But I wanted to start from left to right and then like work my way down this image. But yeah, once I got the hair done, then I started moving my way down the forehead, and then I went over to the ear, got the ear done. And the ear was so hard because, like I mentioned, this reference photo that I was using is incredibly blurry, and I can't hardly see any of the details in there that Margot Robbie has with her face. And so I was just like watching the forms on the reference photo that I had and just trying to shade those the best that I could. I do wish that the ear looked a little bit more feminine, I guess, but that's really like where those shadows are, and I tried to manipulate those and make it as real as I could with this image.
I think I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, for your reference image, I think you did a phenomenal job with it.
Thank you. Another thing that I was like a little worried about was her chin. And at this angle, I didn't want her chin to appear like too chunky, but she's like kind of looking down. Mm-hmm. So she's not like upright and smiling, you know, where she's got very, you know, strong jaw and stuff like that. She's kind of looking down. But I think that the shading on there really, I think it kind of nailed it, you know, and got that form on there right. I will say, man, I freaking love that nose.
Yes, your nose is freaking awesome.
I was so nervous to do the nostrils. Okay, well, the nostril.
Yeah.
Man, I was just in it, and I had at this point, I pulled up multiple different pictures of Margot Robbie, and I'm just like studying her face, trying so hard to get it right in her nose. But she's got a bit of a bridge, you know, that comes up, and it's kind of narrow. She's got a nice nose, you know, and I was trying so hard to like give her nose such justice with the softness and not like giving her like a crow's nose or whatever.
Dude, I think you nailed it.
Oh man, it was hard. It was so hard. And then the nostrils I've always struggled with because I just, you know, usually I'm just like, okay,
they're just such a weird shape.
They're such a weird shape, and it's so hard because it's never like a solid line or like a solid shade of just black.
No.
It's kind of like, because you want to get this like curved out feel to it because of like where our nostrils curve up and then where they also curve down. And so it was so hard for me to just get that spot right. And so I went in there and I put in a really, really skinny stomp that I had and just a little bit of charcoal on there. And I just went in and just like kind of added that line and then cleaned it off on sandpaper and then went in with the clean side and just like dragged it down just ever so slightly. And once I finally got that form on there right, and then also, you know, our nostrils kind of immediately go into a curve outside of our nose. So we have that little area. And I did not want to put a hard line on this because I didn't want it to like look ugly. You know, I wanted that softness there still. So I just did the same thing, and just with that clean side of the stomp still, taking some of that residual charcoal and just curving that around and getting that form of her nose on there. After that, I moved down to the lips and got those shaded in. She also has some teeth showing. And so that was kind of hard, just not like coloring in her mouth. Her mouth was actually so difficult because it's open and it's like slightly down, and she's almost like biting her finger
Right.
in her mouth.
Well,
So
and to pull it off, but still saturate the inside of her mouth.
and still having that
And
tooth showing.
Still having the tooth showing, but still showing the texture and the contour of the lips.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I was trying to get, and it's kind of heavily shaded in the reference photo behind the fingers, and the hand is at an extremely odd angle. I'll get into that later. But then I started working on the eye, and the eye took me a minute because I was just like, man, I want it to read as the Margot Robbie eye. I ended up having to erase it the best that I could quite a few times to nail that shape down. Like at one point it was like, this is way too small. At another point it was way too large. At another point I could not get the pupil to look right. And so finally I was able to nail that shape of the side eye and get her eyelashes finally to a point where it just all was cohesive together, and then the extremely light shading around the outside of her eye to get that form. And then I moved down to her little hairs that she has just underneath where her
Are you
main
talking about
directions
this
are going.
one hanging down in the background?
No, that's actually not a hair hanging down. That's
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, that's just a glare from the carriage. It kind of does look like it though.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I thought that was a piece of hair hanging down.
No,
I'm like,
no.
man, that is freaking awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm totally like happy with how that ended up looking. But yeah, that was just a glare on a piece of the carriage that
Okay,
I threw in
gotcha.
there. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. And so, anyways, I was working on the hairs that are like around her ear, and that was actually really hard because in this photo, there's no details at the bottom of her ear where her earlobe is. There's just a really dark like pearl earring that's kind of sticking out, but also covered. So that was really difficult to work around that. And I just kind of like shaded really lightly the direction of the hair, and then went back in with Stomp, and then kind of added a little bit more shading on there, and then went back in with the mono eraser and just erased the bits of her hair because her hair is so light.
She just highlighted those areas.
Exactly. Just highlighted those areas. And then moved down to, she's kind of got like a choker on, kind of like a choker. I think it's just a piece of the dress or something. Knocked that out. That was fairly easy. It was just coloring it really black. And then her dress was really fun. So her dress that she's wearing in this film is actually kind of not lace, but almost like a really, really thin mesh. Obviously, I don't think that I could get that with the charcoal, but I wanted to like emphasize the ruffles that are on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. 100%.
It really wasn't all that difficult, but it was more so kind of fun to do. And then the last thing that I did was the hand. So actually it wasn't the last thing that I did. I had the hand already completely all the way shaded, and it looked like, if you've ever seen Shrek, if Shrek was holding his hand next to his lips trying to be a little seductive, it looked exactly like that. And so I went in with my electric eraser and I erased everything that I possibly could because I was trying to draw the fingers too much, and I was trying to add way too much detail. And still, like I said, her hand is just at such an awkward point.
Well, but in all fairness, hands are so difficult to do.
I used to be so good at them, Adam. I used to nail hands. I used to not have any issue with it at all. That just goes to show you, I stopped drawing for, probably a decade. And I wasn't practicing like I was. I wasn't practicing like I used to, because I used to be able to just look at my hands, and I would just draw. I would just draw my hands all day long. And it got to the point where, okay, I'm going to draw hands. don't need a reference photo, don't even need to look at my hand. I just know what that form looks like. So I really need to get back into that. Anyways, on these fingers, her palm is pointed outwards and she's like running her hand like kind of through her mouth in like this moment of curiosity and temptation, and she's biting a little bit on her middle finger there. And like I said, there's a reference photo. It's just so difficult. And I was just trying my best to capture some sort of femininity in this hand without making it look like Shrek fingers again. You know what I mean? The thumb is what really kills it for me, and I wasn't able to erase like any more without truly ruining this. So I just said, you know what? That's I can't. It is
what it is.
It is what it is. Just need to work on my hands more. You know, that's really what it comes down to.
I mean, I see absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Thanks.
You know, you've done an amazing portrait, and then you stepped it up and put a hand in it. So it's almost like two challenges in one. But I see absolutely nothing wrong with this. I mean, you've done such a phenomenal job. It's such a phenomenal piece and done with such precision, and it's just gorgeous.
Thank you. Thanks.
You know,
thanks so much.
It's just very, very gorgeous, and I think it's a piece that you'll end up loving forever.
And I really love that there is a feeling whenever you look at it. You know, there is, rather than a feeling, there's like an emotion that you know is there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm going to point out one other thing that really has nothing to do with the drawing itself.
Okay.
You know, first and foremost, I want you to know that you've killed it here.
Thanks.
But you used a different type of paper.
Yeah.
And
so
I freaking love, you know, when you handed it to me, it's weird. Man, it feels like you blow on this stuff and it's going to tear in half.
Right, it is so thin.
But I'm looking at the photograph of this, and dude, this looks like freaking canvas. Looks like this thing's been drawn on canvas.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it's definitely textured to grip the charcoal a lot better. Yeah.
I freaking love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love how it has that certain feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
Like I said, it has absolutely nothing to do with the technical aspect of this drawing. It's just something that I'm sitting here zooming in, and I can see all the bits of texture of the paper.
Right.
And I think it adds a certain feeling to the overall image.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's not just smooth and whatever, you know, it kind of almost gives it like maybe like a vintage feel.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I felt like. And haven't seen the movie, but based on what you're telling me, it's appropriate for that photograph.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's Victorian era stuff like that. Yeah. I think what I probably liked most about this challenge.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on your laptop so I could ask you.
Right.
What, Jordan, did you like most about this challenge?
What I liked most about this challenge was shading the face and getting that shading down. You know, and it's just something that's so simple, and there's not like a ton of it because her face is so light in this specific moment. And you know, there's not a lot of wrinkles, and there's not a lot of, you know, crazy texture, and that's usually what I like to do with portraits. I like drawing like older people and like, you know, getting all like crow's feet, you know, and
all the wrinkles and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite parts. This one was new to me because doing all this softness, and her cheeks are like also kind of rosy in this moment, and so I wanted to try to like capture that like warmth, lush feeling, or just that overall look. And I think I did get that really like just to the right of the eye there on the upper part of the cheekbone. I really dig that spot.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, I loved shading her collarbones here, because I feel like that just added that feminine form that's right there, you know?
And it provides a bit of definition.
Yeah, I agree.
Know?
Yeah.
It provides a bit of definition.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of this, so I love the hair and everything, but I think, and I love the eye. Okay, the whole thing is my favorite thing. But one thing that I love is the shading on her neck here, just below her ear. It doesn't look like she's like Hunchback of Notre Dame, you know? it's just got like a perfect curve to it that emphasizes like the beauty of a neck.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, and that's the one thing you like the most about your image?
Yeah, I love the whole freaking thing. I really do. My least favorite thing is the hand.
Right.
But everything else to the portrait I love.
What is the one thing that makes it Margot Robbie?
So I think the one thing that makes it Margot Robbie is her nose and her eyes. That part I really feel like nails it down to where if you're, a film buff like me, or if you've seen a couple of her major roles, you're like, who is that? I've seen this person before.
Right.
So I feel like her eye specifically and in the nose is what makes it Margot Robbie for me.
Did you connect with it?
Connecting with it? Not, well, yes and no, because I love drawing the images of older people, but I also do like to draw a little bit more seductive images of women that, like, it doesn't show anything, but you know that there is something there that is like that seductive emotion, or vulnerable, or like curiosity and stuff like that. It was just cool to revisit that because it's been so long since I've done something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that. Oh boy. So, questions. I got questions for you, Jordan.
Yeah, let's hear them.
When you look at this portrait now, what do you think this woman is feeling in that moment? And do you think the viewer is meant to understand her or feel slightly shut out from her thoughts?
Ooh, interesting.
Try to take not seeing the film into consideration.
Exactly. So, looking at it, what I think that she is currently feeling, and you can tell like by the flushed look on her face, is like a hot moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that lustful, there is that very seductive like look in her eye of curiosity. And I think that that's the best way to put it. And you can tell like by the rosiness that is implied there on her cheeks and how her eye is and how she's kind of biting down on her finger a little bit. And there is such a curious look to her. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like kind of like that moment of where if you've ever started out in a relationship and there is that moment, where you're like breaching into the physical part of being with somebody, and that curiousness of starting to do that, and how it is kind of scary, and it makes you nervous. And I think that can also be seen through her eyes and through her body language here in this moment.
I would agree with that. I also see contemplation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's also, good job.
When I see this, I see contemplation.
Mm-hmm. Right, like asking yourself, should I do this?
Should
is
I
this
not
wrong?
do this?
Is this right?
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Should I move on my emotions or should I stay grounded,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. The second part of that is, do you think the viewer is meant to understand her or feel slightly shut out from her thoughts?
So I don't necessarily think that you're meant to understand. And I wanted it to be that way. I don't want you to look at this and immediately know exactly what she's feeling in this moment. I want you to look at this and wonder what she's feeling in this moment.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I want questions to arise of like, why does she look like this?
So definitely slightly shut out.
Yeah. Not quite shut out, but I want someone to wonder what could be happening or what is going to happen whenever they see this image.
Yes, I like that.
It is a portrait that arises a question.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Okay, my second question. There's a sense of restraint in the gesture of the hand over the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see this moment as someone holding something back, words, emotion, identity, or as somebody protecting themselves from the world?
Oh, that's a good question. So I really see in this moment that that's kind of pushing that restraint. You know, I mean, if you know, for example, here, if you've watched The Wolf of Wall Street, where Jordan Belfort he's talking to his dad, and he's talking about like how attractive women currently are and how it's so crazy out there, and he does that iconic thing where he kind of like bites his fist, and like that's almost like the equivalent of this. You know, it's
Right.
like, it's your body language showing that restraint of, I need to shut up, or I need to stop on my action, or you know, whatever.
Right.
In cinema does that so much to show this. Like, it's not very often that my significant other is like doing something and I'm like, because, you know, we're normal. And anyways, here I think it's definitely showing the restraint, but it's also, read me that last part again.
Do you see this? I'll read the whole last part of it.
Yeah.
Do you see this moment as somebody holding something back? Words, emotion, identity, or somebody protecting themselves from the world?
Yeah, and I think not necessarily from the world, because if you've seen this film, actually, if you've read the book, okay, you understand what toxic relationship this is and how terrible these two individuals are to each other. But they love each other immensely. They just make it incredibly hard on themselves to ever be with each other. And then the only time that they're ever actually with each other is whenever they're ghosts and they come back to haunt that land. Interesting, right? So I think that right here, it's almost like a protection thing, because right before Heathcliff exits the carriage and she's like, we can't do this anymore. And in this moment specifically for the film, they're like all over each other. And then he's leaving and then she's like, you know, and it is kind of that protection spot of like, I'm glad that's over with, but I want more.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. See, I've never seen the movie, or read the book. So if I was to look at this and answer that same question, I would definitely say it's somebody holding something back.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they're not putting everything out there.
Right, exactly. And so in this moment, she's trying to restrain herself from going too far. She's also married to another man. Okay, while this is happening and Heathcliff is back, it's a whole thing. Very good book. In this film, it's not the direct interpretation from the book. It's just a remaster or whatever you can put for it. But yeah, it's protecting itself. It's saying like no more, but no more just for now.
Right. Like this isn't over.
Exactly. This is not over. We're going to revisit this and
Right.
see what else happens.
Even though we know we shouldn't.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for my last one?
Yeah, let's hear it.
This one's going to...
Okay.
Portraits often reveal as much about the artist as they do about the subject. Do you feel like this piece says anything about you, your perception of people, beauty, or emotion?
You know, I think that for me, you know, I had mentioned before that whenever I go to the theater and I watch a movie, or, you know, if I'm home and I watch a movie, I love watching from the director's point of everything. And I love looking for symbolism, and I love how everything is written. And specifically, I was very interested in this movie because Margot Robbie's company is the one that produced it. And also the director I'm not like too familiar with, but I had heard a lot of good things. So yes, there is that part of me, but there is also like that helpless romantic part of me that I feel like can come out of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for that portrait, I think that's what I like to see, you know what I mean? That's an art form that I really enjoy. Is like that, just that compelling force that is here, but you don't know exactly what it is.
But do you think it says anything about you personally?
I think that it says
Is
that
there
I'm a bit
connection?
helpless romantic with stuff, you know, like I love, you know, going to the cinema and
Right.
from the director's point, seeing that
Right.
this I still love, you know, a good romance and like this form, obviously.
Very nice.
Good
That's
questions,
all the
man.
I got.
Good
That's all the
questions.
questions I've got.
Very good.
Overcoming challenges.
Yeah. Did you really have any challenges with the charcoal?
I mean, it was just, learning how to approach it differently.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Making sure I didn't go too much at
Right.
any given point in time.
Right.
Dial it way back and carefully go further into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Being very cautious about everything that I did.
Right.
Because I didn't want to start over for a third time.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I tried a new brand of charcoal pencils. Really liked them, and I got some just little blocks of charcoal to use. And so that was fun to like get used to, and kind of like overcome the challenge of just trying something different. But yeah, that's about all I got. And then the paper, trying out the new paper. Loved it. Really, really loved it. And then it was able to just grip the charcoal so much more. Yeah.
Well, that's something I did some research because we've got 3 or 4 extra books now that we draw out of. And I didn't have the paper that you've got, but I did some research and went with the best paper that had the most texture to it, so it gripped the charcoals. But I think it still did a pretty decent job.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it as much as what you've got.
I love it.
I think there's something. Well, I'm saying the texture from the paper.
Right,
the texture from the paper.
Right.
I don't like it as much as what you've got. But I still think it turned out pretty good.
Excellent.
Yeah, I still think it turned out pretty good.
I agree.
Collaboration?
We really didn't collab a whole lot this week. We just kind of gave each other some tips throughout the week on our stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I was pretty down in the dumps at a certain point, so I think that we did enough collaboration to pull myself out of that ditch that I was in and struggle that I was having. And I think sometimes that's often enough collaboration to just motivate each other to push through, and you got this,
Right,
that was something you said over and over. I've got text message after text message. You got this. You're gonna get this. You're gonna nail it. You're gonna do great.
Yeah. So moving on with out with the old and in with the new. So this week coming up, it's gonna be pretty different. So Adam's got some pretty important tests that he has to make, and for TDC. Yep. And in preparing for that, and then at the end of this month, I'll actually be out of the country for the last week. So
so our format's going to change a little bit over the next month or so. When we've discussed it, what we're going to do is we roll like we normally are going to roll, and if I have time, I'm going to go into this open-minded, and I'm going to try to draw the challenge.
Yeah. So this week we actually got a really cool challenge.
We did.
And it's a mythical creature, up to discretion, whatever you want to do for mythical creature in alcohol markers.
Which I
You're
love.
welcome, Adam. Yep, you're welcome.
Love, 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 love.
Surrealism, awesome. We love that. And a warm color palette. So
I guess
that's going to be cool.
With that being said,
right. So if Adam's able to draw, Adam's going to draw, and then after that, I'm just going to be drawing on my own for a week or two and roll, and we'll push out content of that. And I think that this next month is going to be pretty exciting, and it'll go just fine, very smooth, I think.
Yeah, I said, I'm going to try, if I have the time, to draw the challenge. If I don't, it's going to be Jordan. She's going to present her stuff, and that will be it. There will be no vote. And we'll just, we'll go with that. I think we're looking at April 8th of things going back to normal.
Yeah, things going back to normal. Should be April 8th.
Yeah, but I think we're going to make a good week, good month of it, and it's going to be awesome.
I agree.
So
I think that's all.
You good with it?
All good with it.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Parlor number 13, where we discuss how we went head-to-head and put our creations up for your vote.
Yeah, be sure to follow us on Facebook at Parlor number 13 by JNA, as well as on Instagram and Parlor number 13 on YouTube. You can also find us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment with your thoughts and choose your favorite artwork. Keep the creativity flowing. Let your inspiration soar. Together, we create, we inspire, and we transform art into a journey.
A journey.
Yep.
All right, guys. As always, wherever you're at,
be safe.
Be
See you at
safe.
the next challenge.